Hi guys, it's pick a card reading time. The topic for this video is going to be some love notes from your person. This is going to be a message cards only reading, and there are three groups to choose from. Group 1 is the Amazonite. Group 2 is the Angel Aura Quartz. And group 3 is the Citrine. Up next is a close-up photo of these crystals. There are timestamps in the description box of the video, and I'll see everyone in a minute for group 1. Hi group 1. Chose the Amazonite. So let's see, what does your person want you to know right now from their higher self? Okay, and we have, I am not who I used to be. So this love connection has definitely instigated a series of changes within this person on a deep, profound level. It feels like little moments that they've spent with you, things that you have shared about yourself, about your story, your life kind of leading up to the moment when you've met them, hopes and dreams for the future, perspectives that you have on life, on love, things beyond just kind of like name, rank, and serial number. This is all information that it feels like has in some sort of way caused this person to start to question things within themselves on a deeper level. For some of you, this person is like deeply inspired by you, things that you have shared with them that you don't look like what you've been through, but in like a really good way. And so this is somebody that is kind of like they had a certain expectation maybe of the type of person you would be, or kind of the direction this connection would head in, the pace at which things would unfold. And it's like you hit them out of nowhere with some kind of revelation that has caused this person to sort of stop in their tracks, needing to regroup, rethink their approach to you, because you've changed their perspective about what is possible or what you bring to the table. And it feels like this is not just thoughts that are projected out towards you. This is also someone who is starting to kind of question illusions or assumptions within themselves, things that they may have looked at as kind of like limits, or even kind of strengths within themselves, and they're starting to kind of reframe the nature of that idea of balance within. So this is somebody, it feels like, that is kind of quietly going through a transformation in the midst of your connection. Like every time you sort of part ways with one another, the conversation ends, the date ends, that time that you spend together kind of like comes to its conclusion. You both go your separate ways, you go back to your life, you go on and do other things before the next time that you meet up. This is somebody that walks away from those encounters, and it feels like the energy exchange between the two of you, or again, things that you've shared about yourself, it is causing kind of like patterns or subconscious beliefs to come up to the surface for this person's awareness. It's like they're expanding their perceptions thanks to you. We also have, I'm sending you telepathic messages. So it feels like this person always had like psychic gifts, psychic abilities. They might have considered themselves to be sensitive or intuitive, but they had never encountered anyone before that maybe resonated with such concepts. Maybe this is something that they can kind of just like sense within you, sort of like attracts like. And so it feels like they've experimented with, or are exploring that idea of like, if I send you a thought with my mind, are you picking up on that? You may have even like said things to this person that were like answering a question that they only sort of thought of, and you just sort of spoke on that. So there's something that they're kind of seeing about what is possible between the two of you, this like unique connection that's possible between the two of you, that doesn't just kind of lead to these elements of sort of like, okay, you could have something on an emotional level, but something where, again, this is kind of like perspectives are changing with this person. They're expanding into a version of themselves that it feels like is kind of gearing up to maybe give of themselves to you or open up to you more, and on this, and in this situation, on kind of that psychic plane of existence, that energetic level, as opposed to just kind of like physical attraction, intellectually being stimulated by you, like emotionally feeling a lot of kind of reassurance or joy when they're in your presence. This is also somebody that feels like there's an ability here in the ways in which you kind of connect so far, or tapping into that kind of subtle field between the two of you, and that you like exist within, just as kind of like a, you know, two people having like the human experience. This is somebody that almost feels like this connection may provide kind of like the right sort of backdrop for them to even kind of explore these aspects and elements about themselves. With that sensitivity, how can they lean more into empathy in terms of giving and receiving, where it's not just like anticipating your emotional needs and kind of like, I know you like these things, I know you like when I say these certain things, or when I show up in this capacity, so I'll do that, but almost kind of like reading between the lines, the things that you don't say. This is somebody that wants to kind of respond to that, maybe even like fears that may be surfacing within, that they can kind of sense within you, or even a sense of longing that they're able to kind of feel. And it's somebody that it feels like wants to kind of give more, not just in terms of like constancy of contact or showing up, but in ways that kind of recognizes or speaks into that experience between the two of you, that kind of like subtle, energetic, empathetic, psychic connection that they are able to sense and kind of recognize at this point. Yeah, we also have I'm more spiritual because of you. So again, this is somebody, it feels like that certain aspects about themselves in terms of their own intuition, their own sensitivity, they may not have ever been like around people that would have been a good sounding board for that. People might have just kind of like laughed that off. It was nothing that they ever really shared with anyone. It's kind of like part of their hidden self, their shadow self. And they may not be at a point of ready to necessarily like talk to you about those things, as it feels like that would be something that they've never like discuss that out loud with anyone. But there's something about the way in which you've kind of created this expanded perspective for this person. You know, you're causing them to sort of think outside of the box in a logical and literal way, and they are also therefore kind of using those sort of higher sense faculties to kind of like explore that sort of psychic potential between the two of you, where it feels like this is somebody that's very curious as far as what the future can hold. Maybe this is can be like a spiritually based romantic partnership. It feels like the concept of that, like the reality of a concept like that coming to life, they've never given that much thought. They've never really indulged in that as like, oh, I'm going to try to manifest that, because they didn't think such a thing was possible, or that it might have been something that, you know, was kind of like statistically improbable that they would kind of find someone that would make them just naturally, without kind of it being forced or something that felt really like awkward or uncomfortable, would just sort of bring that to the surface. So in a way, like just you even kind of explaining about yourself on a mundane level, and how that has kind of like expanded their perceptions, it's also something which has kind of caught the attention of that subtle sense within. There's a lot of resonance in that capacity with you. And this is not somebody that's kind of like newly awakening to these psychic gifts and abilities. It feels like this is someone that probably most of their life, or like most of their adult life even, or maybe even as a kid, they recognize this kind of like ability to kind of feel into things others couldn't, you know, kind of read between the lines, that sensitivity, that intuition, those kind of like psychic senses, but they just sort of like tuck that away somewhere. They never thought that that in some capacity could be like factored into a romantic relationship. And so you've piqued their interest in that total sense. We also have your love is like honey. So this person is very like drawn to your energy. It's almost medicinal in nature. And it feels like this is somebody that wants to make sure that there is equal give and take. They don't just want to be somebody that's a taker, that's coming in and like overindulging, getting like punch drunk on kind of this experience with you. This is somebody that wants to, make sure that they are kind of like giving to you in a way that fulfills your sort of needs. So that's more of that energy of like not so much what you say, but things that they're able to kind of infer about, even kind of the power of your silence, what times in which you hesitate, or even times in which you're overgiving. Maybe even, unconsciously you're sort of showing up in this connection, or you have at various points sort of like performing for love. Maybe that's something that was kind of just like part of your upbringing, or the experience that previous romantic partners or potentials, that's the most that they can offer, is you had to kind of sing for your supper. You had to sort of, show up in a way that was always kind of reaching towards someone else's needs, and maybe even at the expense of your own, or in a way that you could have been really kind of over giving or over exerting yourself, just to kind of remain relevant in someone's life, or to be kind of like chosen by someone. That can even apply to like family or friends. That may be something that is kind of like a pattern that you're aware of, or maybe that this person kind of like sees within you. But if they see it, whether you see it or not, it's like they don't judge you for that. But there's definitely a sense of them trying to kind of be responsible, and not just be one of those people that's going to kind of take advantage of this reflex within, to kind of like give very much of yourself, kind of like offer up a lot very quickly. And so, because it feels like this person is like, they kind of understand why someone like you perhaps might have attracted a lot of takers in the past, because even just a few minutes spent with you, it's almost like a psychedelic experience for this person, on like a psychological level, on an energetic level, on a spiritual level. Your energy, your kind of authenticity, everything about you, the vibe you give off, it's very intoxicating. And so this is definitely somebody that is like, they want to make sure that, you're both kind of like having a good time in this experience beyond just sort of like the surface level. This is somebody that's very mindful at this particular point in time of that kind of subtle exchange between the two of you. Needs that you aren't necessarily expressing, but they can kind of like use these psychic senses within themselves to kind of like pick up on that. They're trying to, sort of adjust their stance to you to make sure that they are pouring into those facets of yourself that may have been starved of connection, that had never been noticed or appreciated or taken into consideration by others before, perhaps because you were busy like over giving, or needing to kind of prove your worth to other people, or you were just dealing with people that, didn't kind of have that sort of emotional capacity, or weren't evolved enough to think beyond their own kind of needs in the moment. We also have, I don't want anyone else, I just want you. So this person is really focused on building exclusively with you. This is somebody that it feels like they're trying to kind of like take the temperature of this connection, in terms of not wanting to come on too strong, or, miss any kind of like crucial periods of time where, it might be sort of like, if they take the lead and kind of like rush forward into sort of the next phase, that there may be things that are sort of like moments of vulnerability that they almost want you to feel okay with being like spontaneous about, sort of like expressing things about yourself, or giving you enough of a buffer that you can adjust to the fact that this person wants to show up consistently, and definitely has the intention of going deeper with you than you might have experienced with other partners. But it's kind of something that it's like they're almost anticipating, maybe something they can kind of like read about your vibe or your energy. Maybe it's something you've mentioned about like your past, different sort of experiences that you've had. But this almost is somebody that can kind of feel into the sense of like they're having to make up for something that was like lacking in terms of other partners. Like nobody ever kind of looked at you in a way that this person sees you. Nobody ever had maybe the capacity to kind of meet you on a particular level that this person recognizes you're capable of reaching, and that they themselves are capable of reaching. And so it's not like this is somebody that feels like they're having to kind of like heal wounds created in you by other people, but they almost are able to recognize or acknowledge this aspect or this layer of you that has never been loved before, has never been properly acknowledged before. And so there's something about kind of like giving this connection sort of like time in order to sort of fill in the spaces between your exchanges with one another so far. So some of maybe those needs, wants, and desires in that kind of like untapped territory within, that's something that can be kind of like coaxed to the surface, because this person doesn't want you to kind of like feel like you'd be asking too much, or even to kind of like energetically speaking, to kind of open up in a way that doesn't necessarily require words, but it's just sort of like a psychic or a spiritual experience. This is somebody that wants that to kind of like happen between the two of you, but they see that that's something that has to be like coaxed to the surface. They can't just kind of like command that and it occurs. They can't just kind of like address it outright and it comes to the surface, or you open up in that sense. So it feels like this is somebody that is definitely feeling in energetically into this space, almost trying to like get themselves and get you maybe comfortable with the feeling, the experience of that ability to connect on that energetic or spiritual level, because this is somebody that is definitely interested in kind of like building upon that, even if it's something that you never really talk about out loud. This is somebody that's consciously aware of that, and so they want to kind of provide support for the two of you in that sense, so that this is something that, as the connection hopefully like develops into something more, that it's not just like sexually satisfying, intellectually satisfying, emotionally satisfying, but this is somebody that's like, this is a possibility here to be like energetically or spiritually satisfying as well. And they don't just do that with anyone. It's like, this is something that may even be kind of like an experience that has only sort of become like a question of if it's possible with you. Like they've never felt that right sort of resonance with other people before, or they've never really been around anyone that themselves was like deep enough or kind of like evolved enough as a person to even kind of connect on that energetic level. We also have, you are a gem that shines in the night. Yeah, so this person sees your strength. Even if you're very humble, you don't kind of like brag about all sort of the things that you survived, what you've been through, your struggles, you kind of just, you just push on, you kind of just, you carry yourself with your head held high, you try to kind of just move with grace and ease and gratitude. This person really appreciates that, but they see that there is a level of light inside of you that it wasn't just handed to you. Like, you've been through certain things, certain disappointments, in various capacities that it feels like have really helped to kind of like highlight an aspect of you, a light inside of you that shines very brilliantly, because there's some part of you that is very familiar with like a darker path, darker experiences, different sorts of disappointments. This is somebody that feels very like tender towards you, like they want to cherish you. They don't want to add to kind of any sort of misery from the past. They don't want to become kind of like an unpleasant memory for you. This is somebody that wants to remain very relevant and wants to have like a very good experience with you, because they see qualities within you that they know have been overlooked by other partners, maybe even things that you don't celebrate within yourself. And so that kind of clues them into the fact that it's like, yeah, you might have been loved, but there are whole aspects of you that like people in your life, even friends or family, have like totally missed the boat as far as identifying and pointing out and kind of celebrating these qualities about you that this person really sees as like very inspirational, very admirable aspects about you. It's like a quiet strength about you, that really draws out like a compassionate side of them, but it also makes them want to, again, be very kind of like tender, very gentle, very delicate with you in this connection. We also have the changes are real. Yeah, so again, this is somebody who is thinking differently about a lot of different things at this point. There may have been like certain assumptions that they had, about the type of partner that they were looking for, what a long-term connection would be, what a deep personal connection with another person would be. Again, that idea of kind of like a spiritual quality here, an empathetic quality here, energetically, psychically, they're already feeling this connection with you that is kind of the byproduct of also a change in kind of their intellectualized perceptions of things. Their thoughts about different things are changing because you model something different than certain assumptions that they had, certain like beliefs that they had, even about a particular sort of like type of person that they would be drawn to or attracted to. And you fit a lot of those requirements, but then there's all these other layers to you that it feels like are very much outside of the realm of what this person like thought to kind of like ask for when they were trying to sort of like ask the universe, pray to the universe for that kind of like perfect partner, when they've been on the search, when they've been on the hunt for, romance, for someone to meet, someone to love. It's kind of like they looked for qualities that you embody, but then there's all these other things about you that it feels like has really kind of expanded this person in terms of different parts of themselves kind of like leaning forward. A certain aspect of them kind of awakened on an emotional level that is wanting to kind of like have involvement in this connection, giving them themselves and the capacity to receive on a deeper level that's only possible because of something, again, within this kind of like very juicy, yummy, high vibe energy that you give off, that is kind of like penetrating beyond this person's walls, or, maybe a sense of almost feeling that certain aspects of themselves could never be touched by the energy of love because they'd never encountered anyone that kind of like resonated that deep, or it could be like brought to the surface. And yet in some way with you there is that kind of understanding. There's mundane connection, but then there's also all of these other sort of aspects that kind of go into a place that's sort of deeper than that. And so this is somebody that is very like, they're looking towards the future in a multifaceted way, not just what are the steps that we take forward in the here and now to kind of get to the next level, with one another, have that next experience, but this is almost somebody that's also looking very deeply within. How deep will this connection between the two of us penetrate beyond our wounds, beyond our kind of assumptions of what partnership between two people could be? We also have you are the one. So this person becomes increasingly certain that, it's you or nobody, that you're the person that has kind of like entered into their life. They've gone through a process of like filtering through different options, maybe even a period of time where they were single, they were celibate, they weren't dating, they were just kind of like very frustrated by the options. And so it was like, okay, rather than sort of like settling or wasting time, they're just focusing on other things. That this is something where now it's kind of like you've piqued their interest and sort of like changed their plans, changed their perception of kind of like what to expect as far as romance is concerned. How those kind of connections could develop between themselves and another person, the type of person that would be sort of like ideal candidate for long-term partnership or maybe even marriage. It's like you embody those surface level qualities, but again, there's like this deeper layer to you that has really excited something within this person on that energetic plane. So this is somebody that is very much looking to sort of build with you moving forward in terms of words and actions, but also kind of like starting to reinforce that kind of like energetic experience between the two of you. We also have our eye contact is insane. Yeah, so you again have opened this person's eyes to an entirely different series of possibilities in terms of aspects of themselves that would have the opportunity to kind of showcase love, ways in which, there's a need within you that they anticipate in some sort of way that they can like pour their efforts or their energy towards, ways in which kind of like the nature of what a partnership would look like. Yeah, it may kind of fit all those requirements and those things that they want and need and desire in terms of like, the literal and the mundane, but then there's all of this kind of like thought at this particular point in time in terms of like the wider range of what is possible, even in terms of, maybe like kind of sacred sexual experiences with one another, something where like your spiritual pathways could intersect with one another. There could be kind of like discussions of deeper sorts of things, ways in which the eye contact is not just kind of like looking into another person's kind of like body part, but like seeing into literally the open windows of another person's like open windowed soul. They see that within you. They see this kind of like awakened energy or the capacity to kind of reach that level. And so it feels like it very much excites this person in terms of what those kind of physical experiences would look like, in conjunction with kind of all that is sort of expanding within them. So let's get some initials. This could be a first, middle, or last name, or could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. You got S, Y, B, M, S, Z, V, U, R, P, W, and J. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. Like or comment to claim these energies. Subscribe to my channel if you would like to see more content that I put out here. Don't forget to hit the bell button to get notifications every time I post a new video. And if you'd like to book a personal reading with me, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link for that below. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 2. You chose the Angel Aura Quartz. So let's see, what does your person want you to know right now from their higher self? We have, I am overcoming my fears. This person has fallen in love with you, and it feels like it is taking a lot of self-control to not just blurt that out. This person wants to make the moment very special between the two of you, because when they say those words, I love you, or maybe just in this situation as far as you're concerned, they feel like that is like a secret password that opens up a very profound door of opportunity between the two of you, that is potentially like a first step in the direction of building towards forever. They want to make that moment meaningful, special. They don't just want it to be something that happens very casually or just sort of like slips out. They don't want to do that via like text. You know, this is somebody that it feels like wants to kind of like have a special occasion with you, or something that might even involve kind of like tapping into a level within themselves that aligns almost with the sacredness of that, with the importance that they are putting on the fact that they don't just like you, they don't just think you're fun or cute or pretty or beautiful or handsome, you know, that you're funny and you're sexy and like all these other things. Yeah, you're all those other things, but there's also something within them that really feels like this could be love. This is love. This is an experience that they're ready to like open their heart to completely. And that is something which it feels like has happened sort of quietly, like a door has already opened within them very quietly. But to make that announcement to you, this is something again that they want the two of you to be able to kind of like remember that moment as kind of like the first of maybe a series of very beautiful experiences that they want to create with you, so that years from now you can look back on that moment, and in some sort of way it will almost introduce you to a level of like romantic capacity within this person, that it feels like once they kind of commit themselves fully to another person in that way, like moving into that space of like, I've fallen in love with you, like inside, and then they speak that out loud, it feels like there's this whole other version of them that comes along with that. It's not just a phrase, it's not something that is just kind of like uttered and then it fills the spaces in your conversation, or it's kind of like the way you get off the phone or get off the text, like, okay, I love you, talk to you later. It's more than that. And so this is somebody that wants to kind of almost like soft launch their introduction to you, like of this highly romantic side of their nature. So there's a lot of importance being placed on kind of like the right moment to speak that out, to speak life into that next chapter of your experience with one another. We also have, I'm doubting everyone around me. So it feels like this person is definitely somebody that is at this particular point in time kind of like thinking back on past relationships that they had, where maybe that kind of like romantic within them, that side that is like really good at kind of like planning things, or is really good at giving, is really good at like showing affection, words of affirmation, gestures of affirmation. They're thinking back on like the times where that part of them was like used or taken advantage of in order to kind of disempower an aspect of fear within, like fear of history repeating itself, because they don't want to kind of like bring a lot of the baggage from the past into what they consider to be an opportunity to move in a better direction as far as love is concerned with you. This is somebody, it feels like, that doesn't, like, they're making really certain that they're kind of like not punishing you for the mistakes other people before you made, in terms of, again, like taking advantage of that romantic, that lover boy, that lover girl inside of them, that part of them that just kind of like likes to be romantic, likes to kind of have those kind of special things that couples do. This is somebody that likes kind of having that ooey gooey sort of relationship that other people, bitter people, people that have settled, people that are just like unhappy or that don't love themselves at all, would look towards and be like, ew, that's so cheesy, oh, that's so cliche. Like, this person gets off on that. They're like, yeah, I want to be that cheesy and cliche couple. I want to be that kind of experience with another person where our love, as it is witnessed by others, or maybe even makes us kind of smile from ear to ear, I want that to irritate the shit out of people that are just bitter and miserable. I want that to trigger other people's demons. Like, this person like gets a thrill at the idea of that, because they are somebody that they consider romance and like really whining and dining somebody on like a deep and consistent level, like this is part of who they are. They consider that to be like a strength, or like something that they're really good at. But it's also not the kind of thing, it feels like at this point in their life, they've sort of conditioned themselves to not just give that away too quickly, because it has been taken advantage of in the past. There's people that have kind of like manipulated that sort of soft side of them, the side of them that would do anything in the name of love. Like, once they're in love with someone, it's like this person is almost like loyal to a fault in a way. And so at this point, part of that like preparation process is making sure that they kind of like check any sort of potential fears or hesitations within themselves, so that they can give you like the best experience, so they don't hold anything back, so that they don't kind of like have something occur with you and then like old fears resurface. Because this is somebody that's looking forward again to that experience of like developing as a couple in a way that like some people that encounter you are going to be like really happy and really inspired, and like, oh, they're such a cute couple, they're totally made for each other. But this is also somebody that recognizes, yeah, there's people out there, bitter people in the world, or people a little closer to home, who are just going to think it's so cringe, who are going to like look at this and it just kind of like irritates them on every sort of level. And this person almost feels that that might equate with sort of like light work in a way, like it's part of the purpose of what's possible between the two of you, or they get this kind of like secret thrill out of that, like, good, I like irritating kind of like bitter people by being happy, by radiating the joy of being in love, loving someone with the fullness of all that I am, and having that exchange, reciprocated. This is something that they like, that they like, that is something that elicits kind of bad vibes from other people, because it feels like it's something that this is somebody that is very confident that love, as they're able to kind of tap into it, give it, and receive it, it's impervious to things like bad vibes. It's sort of like, bring that on, because it'll just be deflected like back onto that person, returned right back onto that sender. So this is somebody that is like, they're definitely, love is their cause, love is their purpose. It's like they got other things that they're doing in this lifetime, but they definitely feel that when they are in the right connection, like with the right person, when they are able to kind of give of the fullness of themselves, that's when they really feel aligned. That's when they feel like they are completely living as they should in the moment. And so again, this is somebody that is like making sure that they don't hold anything back as far as this connection with you is concerned, because it feels like something that is almost, there's so much potential between the two of you that they don't want their kind of like vision of what that can be, or ways in which they're inspired to kind of show up for you and really provide you with a romantic experience. They don't want that to be kind of like clouded by experiences they had in the past that might make them fearful, or, you know, kind of hold back on a certain level. We also have, I'm more spiritual because of you. Yeah, so you have the key to this person's heart. You have unlocked the door to their heart. Quietly, this person has already fallen in love with you. So again, it feels like this is somebody that is preparing like a very sacred moment, a special experience. They're wanting to get the mood right. They're wanting to get, you know, the setting right. They're wanting to feel like really balanced within themselves, almost this energy of like telling you I love you for the first time. This is almost something that is kind of like the buildup, as if they are like getting ready to propose to you. Like it's that important, it's that crucial of a first step forward, because once that phrase is uttered, once that starts to become part of your exchanges with one another, part of just what you say to each other regularly, this is something that it kind of like, this is a person that, as far as you're concerned, it's like, we're dating to marry, we're heading in that direction. And so this is again like a major milestone moment where the two of you can look back and remember that experience, that time where the relationship transcended to that next level. Yes, you might already be intimate with one another, you might make out, you know, you might have other like bits of affection that you exchange, you know, words and affirmations of affection, but those words, I love you, that's a really big deal for this person. And so they are approaching that like with a seriousness, almost like a solemnness, like it's a promise in and of itself, to move forward from that point with an openness of heart that they didn't have exactly when they first met you. But your exchanges, your experiences with one another up to this point in time, it has opened something very deeply within, where they are now capable of kind of like giving on that level, and to speak that out, to express that out openly, is something that it feels like they don't take that lightly. And it feels like it also again kind of like is a first step in the direction of experiencing a side to them that you have yet to see. But it's like a very beautiful, a very endearing side to this person. And they know that. They know that this kind of like romantic lover boy, lover girl part of them, that is definitely like a strong suit. They're really good at that. And so this is something that it's kind of like, okay, this part of myself is now being activated. So it's almost like they're kind of like warming up to the reality of that side of them being something that is also part of the regular experience of everything you've come to know about them up to this point in time. Yeah, we also have, I surrender my heart to you. So there's that confirmation that this person has fallen in love with you. They have already made that decision inside. They have already, like a wall has come down. You know, a drawbridge has opened around their heart space, and there is an aspect of them that is kind of riding forth with this very important message for you. And that important message is those three words that everybody wants to hear: I love you. And this is somebody that knows, they recognize just how casually that phrase is sort of like thrown around in today's world, in today's society. And so as far as this is concerned, it's like a token of affection, but it's something that for this person, like saying these words to you, it brings with it kind of this unspoken understanding of like, this is a big step in a direction that hopefully will lead to permanence between the two of you. This is somebody that kind of like feels this strongly about you, about this circumstance, about kind of like how mindful they are when they use those words, I love you. Like, they're not one of these people that's just like, I love you, man, I love you, bro, I love you, girl. Like, they're not just out there kind of like saying that to everybody. It's kind of the kind of thing that it's like they don't say that unless it means something, unless they mean that to somebody. And so this like step forward for them, again, it's in this direction of like, I want us to remember that moment as kind of maybe a step closer to the time when I will be proposing to you, and that also will be a memorable experience, not just kind of like, hey, what do you think, let's go get married, been together long enough, why not? Like, this person is not into transactional connections, transactional love. They don't look at love like entering into a business partnership. And it feels like that is something that might make this person kind of an outlier amongst the modern world, modern dating. Where it's like, yeah, they want to make sure that there's compatibility, that they're aligned, with who they are linking their life up with in terms of values, goals, personality traits, blah, 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 all that other stuff. But this is somebody that believes in like good old fashioned love. This is somebody that believes that like love is an essential ingredient in having and sustaining and maintaining a meaningful partnership. Otherwise, it's just kind of like a glorified roommate situation. And that's not what this person wants. This is somebody that feels like they're okay being single, or, just keeping things very kind of like distanced, casual. This is not somebody that just kind of like rushes to that point of like, let me say I love you, let's make this huge level of commitment. Like, they take that very seriously. And so the fact that this has kind of like happened very quietly within, those next steps forward, it feels like are being very well thought out on their part. Because once they say that, it's not something that they want to easily kind of deviate from that. Once they say those words, it again brings forth this other aspect of them that has been obscured. You haven't been aware of this. It's like an extension of sort of the sweetest qualities, or the more kind of like conscientious aspects of this person that you've known up to this point. This is kind of just a level above and beyond. This isn't the type of person you're going to have to like, remind them to remember anniversaries or birthdays. This is not going to be the kind of person that's going to go, cheap or kind of cliche on you. This is somebody that can get very creative in those expressions of love, those declarations of love, those meaningful moments. They believe in adding kind of fuel to the fire within loving relationships. And so this next step forward, it's not something that is just casual. It's something that it's very important to them. We also have, we need some time together. Yeah, so there's that confirmation, planning a special moment, planning a special occasion. It feels like something where they want to definitely catch you off guard with how that happens. They'll act almost maybe very nonchalant in terms of just like, oh yeah, let's get together. Oh, let's go here. Here's this new restaurant I heard about. Or, do you want to go for a walk here? Do you want to go hang out here? Like something that it just at surface level, you'll think, oh, it's another date. It's just they want to get together in person. But there's like a whole ordeal that they have kind of arranged, or that they're arranging, that they're envisioning in their mind of kind of like what that will be like, the mood, the ambiance, something that it's kind of almost like the perfect photograph. Like, it's something that the two of you can remember, even just very quietly between the two of you, because it might not be the kind of thing where it's sort of like, yeah, let's photograph this, let's put it on social media, let's let everybody know that this has happened. It's like this step forward, this energy of I love you, and I want to say that out loud. I want to look into your eyes and say that. That's an experience that is kind of like, they want that to be a treasured moment between the two of you, a first step forward towards solidifying a beautiful partnership in a variety of other ways. So with that is kind of like the energy of not just, okay, I feel like I'm ready to say that, just the next time we talk I'm going to say that. This is somebody that is like, they have that truth within, and so they're very kind of like mindful, very conscientious as far as like orchestrating that perfect time, that perfect place, in order to kind of release this truth to you. We also have, I really love the way you make me feel inside. Yeah, so again, that's that energy of somebody that has fallen in love with you. You've gotten past, that kind of cautiousness within, almost like they don't just sort of casually fling that word love out. This is somebody that it feels like they take their time to vet out potential partners. There are things that they look for in terms of, like any kind of intelligent person would do, sort of like, okay, what are your list of qualifications beyond just being like a pretty face or, a handsome dude? Like, what else do you sort of bring to the table that would make it kind of worth my while to spend time with you or to get to know you? Like, they've already looked into all of that. They've already had experiences with you. Even awkward moments or times where you felt that there's been like misconnection between the two of you, or you weren't really certain kind of what the future would hold in the situation. All of that, this person has kind of like taken in, they factored that into consideration, and you are presenting as like a very real and genuine person and a very real and genuine good idea as far as what they want, what they need, what it feels like is worth their while in order to invest in emotionally in terms of those romantic efforts, to let you know, even though it's just three little words, I love you, that it brings with it like a whole series of experiences that can hopefully help you to kind of like come to a different understanding in terms of what efforts people are capable of. Like, this is somebody that also is kind of thrilled at the idea of outshining any sort of like bare minimum low effort people that you've been with in the past. They know the way that they love and the way in which they are able to kind of like show up and really put a lot of thought and effort into things. That's not the typical way that most people do things. This is somebody that is kind of like, it's like Knight of Wands, but with staying power. This is somebody that knows that romance, that's part of their creativity. Like, they're really creative when it comes to that. And so that is something that it's like a level of artistry within, that they're very excited, very much preparing themselves to demonstrate to you. We also have, I won't let you go. Yeah, so when they tell you I love you, this is somebody that is then, projecting their sights out further into the future of kind of like, okay, I love you. That's a big step forward. Now where do we need to go next in order to get to that place where, there's a level of exclusivity with one another, where, I'm asking you to move in with me, and then asking you to marry me, and then we're like living our life together. It feels like this person's very strategic in terms of certain kind of like mile markers for them, and they've reached one already in terms of this internal understanding of like, I have fallen in love with you. And so the only thing that remains to happen at this point is to speak that out, put it out there verbally, put it out there into the universe. And this is not something that is just kind of like brings with it, like nothing else changes. It's just words that are kind of like included in your conversations. Again, this is something that brings in a whole other side of this person kind of like showing up in this connection than you've experience before out of them, and as they hope that'll be better than kind of like the best, most romantic person you've dated in the past. This is somebody that's like, I can outdo that times 10. Also have, I want your attention. So again, there's more of that confirmation of somebody that's like planning a special moment, planning a special occasion, waiting for the right timing, looking into things. This person could be like researching, if they want to like say this to you over dinner, they could be looking into kind of like making reservations somewhere, different kind of factors that would be included in that. They're making those financial plans and preparations. They're looking at everything down to the finest detail. They are definitely wanting to control the outcome, as far as it's not just, oh, that slipped out, and so I guess we're saying that to one another now, but it's something where you can kind of count that amongst milestone moments in terms of building a connection forward with one another into the future. also have what we have is soul recognition. Yeah, so this is definitely somebody that wants to, you know, kind of explore that territory of like potentially the two of you being soulmates, like a soulmate love, a deep love, something that has all those ooey gooey romantic aspects to it that most people overlook, out of, you know, sheer kind of emotional stuntedness or laziness, or because it's just kind of not trendy or popular amongst modern dating. This is somebody that wants to kind of rebel against that very sort of sterile, business-like approach to dating and romance within the modern world. This is somebody that wants to bring back almost like that 90s love, that kind of like sappy love song type of experience. This is somebody that doesn't just want to, you know, kind of say all the right things. They want to have that complemented by like this experience of telling you that they love you, being the first of like many different types of things, not just on special occasions, not just on your birthday or anniversary, but like surprising you in these little moments, always keeping you on your toes, never knowing what to expect, when this romantic within them is going to surface and kind of sweep you off your feet, to make you understand that this is somebody who anticipates they're going to keep falling in love with you. This isn't just kind of like, okay, we're crossing over into that territory and that's that. This is somebody that it's like when those words are spoken out, it's almost kind of like feeling that that's just sort of a first step within a new series of experiences between the two of you. So let's get some initials. This could be a first, middle, or last name, or could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. We've got C, Y, T, I, N, A, M, Y, M, L, F, and R. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. Like or comment to claim these energies. Subscribe to my channel if you would like to see more content that I put out here. Don't forget to hit the bell button to get notifications every time I post a new video. And if you'd like to book a personal reading with me, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link for that below. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 3. Chose the Citrine. So let's see, what does your person want you to know right now from their higher self? And we have, there is no need to worry. So this is somebody that knows that they need to offer up some kind of explanation. I'm hearing sudden disappearance. So it feels like this person might have just like switched up on you very abruptly. There could have been a series of kind of like missed connections between the two of you, or something where they seemed almost very like distracted with different things. And it feels like for a minute this person got caught up in the intensity of the experience they were having with you, and it's like they got cold feet. It's bringing to mind the analogy of like someone climbing a mountain looking down, because I think they always tell the people that are climbing mountains like, don't look down, you're gonna freak out. And this person looked down and they freaked out. And it feels like it's something that has to do with kind of like the ways in which they opened up to you or could see themselves kind of like really falling for you, falling fast. You know, they might have been very like excited in the moment. They kind of let their guard down very suddenly. They became very comfortable with you, and that's something that freaked them out. That's something that scared them. They might have even opened up to you or revealed things to you about themselves that is kind of like they don't usually tell people that. They don't usually tell people that kind of thing that quickly. And so it feels like they might have become a little bit self-conscious, a little bit embarrassed. And the reflex was to almost kind of like pull away, to switch up their approach or go silent for a period of time. And so it feels like this is somebody that wants to come out of the woodwork with like some kind of token of apology, offering up an explanation, not just coming in all nonchalant and acting like nothing has happened, but somebody that wants to provide you with certain bits of clarity that might help you to understand like they're still interested, they still want to explore something with you, but that they need you to be a little bit kind of like patient with them, because vulnerability is not their strong suit. Or this could be somebody that's like, I haven't opened up to anyone like this in a while. This might be somebody that hasn't dated anyone in a while, hasn't been in a talking phase in a while, or they had some really like shitty experiences, and before they knew it, there were all these kind of like, super high discernment, really high walls, quick to sort of just like snap shut at the first indication of something that was coming in a little too close for comfort. And it feels like this person's had some time to reflect on that, or the ability to kind of understand within themselves that it's like nothing that you said or did, but there was almost this kind of like fear of being seen, fear of letting anyone in too close, or some kind of closeness that occurred between the two of you, like things moving really fast that caused them to sort of panic and kind of drop the ball in this situation. And so there's a hope that they're able to kind of like come back into your orbit, or, kind of start conversations again, or start to kind of like get to know each other again, or kind of pick up where you left off. But it feels like with that is also this level of honesty that they know is required, so the same thing doesn't happen again. So you have kind of an understanding of where it is that they're coming from, or the reason why they kind of like acted the way they did. This isn't somebody that wants to provide excuses, but this almost feels like a moment of bravery to be very honest, maybe about an experience that they had with someone else, or a series of experiences that's kind of like created the sense of like they push anything away at the first sign that it's like in too close. And this feels like somebody that this isn't like a permanently embedded quality within. You may just be the first person that they've encountered after a series of like negative experiences, something that it's like discernment, boundaries, maybe something very new for this person. And so the idea or the reality of kind of like getting to know another person, or allowing themselves to be potentially known by another person, it's like that discernment was just, they hadn't like really utilized it very well. It was very quick to kind of like snap shut, or create a wall between the two of you, which this person is hopeful that you will be understanding enough to kind of like give them a chance to sort of like talk their way through it, or to redeem themselves in some way. Yeah, we also have, I am clearing my karma. So this person knows that this is kind of like an error on their side that has created kind of this need to sort of smooth things out between the two of you, to provide some kind of explanation, to show up in a different frame of mind with a different sort of approach, some level of kind of like they've been asking themselves, like, why did I do that? Why did I act that way? Why did I react in that capacity? And so there's a sense of really kind of, again, like hoping and anticipating that it's not too little too late between the two of you. This doesn't feel like anything that would have, anybody that would have done anything so horrible that it's kind of like, no, I'd never give that person the time of day again. They can go to hell. Like, I don't care. It might be like you had some kind of like hurt feelings for a period of time, but it feels like when this person is able to like provide that clarity for you, you might be the one who's a little bit sort of hesitant, a little bit guarded, a little bit that kind of like, okay, I'll hear you out, but you're going to have to do much better than you did before, or I'm going to put you out in the cold. And so it feels like this is somebody that kind of like understands that. So the burden of proof is upon them. They have to bring something into this equation. They got to bring something to the table that makes it worth your while to hear them out. Because again, they know that this is kind of like their error, something that happened on their side that kind of like caused this sort of uncertainty between the two of you, or a need to provide some kind of an explanation. So this isn't somebody that's just going to come empty-handed. They know that the nonchalant approach will not be interesting to you. It will not be enticing to you. You need something with meat on the bone. You need something, to kind of work with. You need something that will help you to, be able to kind of like understand that this person has taken this time of kind of like silence, or where they've kind of pulled their energy back, and that they've done some kind of self-reflecting, that they're not just coming back towards you in that same vibe that they did before, and expecting you to kind of just welcome them with open arms. This is somebody that kind of feels that they need to sort of earn your trust back, or take a different approach to you in this situation. And so it's somebody that's trying to kind of like figure out how to sort of put in that work, what they need to say, what they need to almost prepare themselves for, in terms of like, it might not exactly be a warm welcome when they knock on your door once again, but this is somebody that's like, I don't just want to give up on this situation. I've got to try. If there's something that can be salvaged here, I want to try and salvage that. Yeah, we also have I'm clearing past life traumas. So again, this is somebody that has really asked themselves, like, why did I do that? Everything was going so well, or, I felt so connected to this person. They recognize that, like, you didn't say anything wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. This, again, could have been something on their side, where it's like they opened up and shared things about themselves with you, and were like, why did I say that? That feels really, like, icky and weird to be that vulnerable with someone that early. You could definitely be an empath, where you're just kind of like, yeah, story of my life. People, strangers tell you their life story. People open up about things to you very quickly, and then often will change up and get weird afterwards, like get very kind of like standoffish, because they've exposed themselves, because they've brought up things that they may even be in kind of denial about, or they avoid looking at within themselves. But your light, your helpful presence, your very nurturing energy just kind of coaxes that out of people, strangers and people that you deal with on kind of a regular basis, up close and personal. So for you, this may just be par for the course, but for this person, this was kind of something where this experience, and they've not just kind of run away from you and not looked again at this. They've taken a step back, or they've run off a little to the side, almost like an Eight of Cups energy, like they kind of just sidestepped and sort of like, excuse me, let me sit here in this energy of feeling very like weirded out that I've connected with you in this way so quickly, perhaps. But this is somebody that now wants to like step back into the frame with a little bit of self-awareness, with a little bit of understanding of kind of like, okay, that didn't go as planned, but if there's the ability for us to kind of turn this around, and by us, it feels like this person understands that it's them, like them turning this around in some kind of sense, by maybe taking things a little bit slower, kind of talking themselves off that ledge with you, if you will hear them out and give them another opportunity. This is somebody that's like, they still feel this like attraction to you, and they're hoping that it's not too late to kind of redeem themselves. Yeah, we had such a strong connection. So this person definitely got freaked out by the ways in which they felt so comfortable with you so quickly. This person might be like a master of disguise. Like they operate like the real them behind a mask. It's carefully crafted. The world doesn't see inside. There may be people that have even like known this person for years, but they only know like a surface level self. It feels like this person's kind of interior world, their sensitivity, their feelings, their vulnerabilities, even kind of like negative past experiences that they've kind of just like moved away from those things. They leave the past in the past. They kind of just pride themselves on like overcoming, just pushing forward, just carrying on. And in your presence, there was a sense of like they relaxed so quickly. They opened up, they confided in you about things. Maybe even it was just a casual thing that they said. But then after the conversation ended, after the date ended, after they kind of like went on their way, it's like they woke up the next morning totally in a panic. Oh my God, why did I say that? why why did I just open up about that? And so it's not like that you presented as untrustworthy in a way. It's almost like they were kind of, they freak themselves out, sort of like, why did I let my mask slip like that? That should have been something that I waited months until I shared that with another person. That should have been the kind of thing that maybe I just kept to myself, that side of my persona. It could have even just been an internal shift within. It could have just been very like, very surface level, very just like basic conversation, but there was something within them that relaxed in your presence, and this triggered kind of this fear response within. This could be somebody that is like used to living their life on survival mode, like in that energy of like nobody gets in behind this mask. That is where they're safest. And yet they felt themselves at ease very immediately, very quickly with you. And so it's almost something that felt wrong to them. Like a betrayal to themselves, or like they disobeyed some kind of order they'd given to themselves. So this is somebody that has been definitely like overthinking. They know that it's kind of like, if you are going to give them another opportunity, they got to cough up the truth. They got to like come with this level of having evolved in some way in terms of like self-reflection, ability to communicate that, because this is somebody that almost feels like you might give them one more opportunity, and then it doesn't matter how strongly you're attracted to them, or you feel that there's something possible here between the two of you. That this is something where this person is kind of like, they don't even like this, they don't want it to turn into like a hot cold behavior. They don't like how they went cold on you. They don't like how they kind of just like dropped the ball in this situation. So this is somebody that's like trying to warm up to speaking again, reconnecting with you again, taking a more kind of mindful approach, a slower approach, speaking that out as well, so that you have an understanding of kind of like what it is they're working with, what their intentions are, how they have grown and evolved in some sort of way as a person in the time apart. Because this isn't somebody that's just been able to be like out of sight, out of mind, next, sort of swipe on to the next. This is something where that, whatever that moment was that freaked them out, it's almost had them like stuck within themselves. It's had them feeling very kind of like backed into a corner. And so now this is somebody it's kind of like they're wanting to approach again with a little more wisdom inside. It's like just the experience between the two of you highlighted a blind spot within them that they didn't even know existed, or they thought they had a handle on it. They had like mastered that part of themselves. Only they would open up about that ever, or kind of like in a time that was right for them, and yet they felt so relaxed in your presence that it almost kind of made them feel like, oh my gosh, anything's possible here, very quickly, and not something that brought them a sense of joy, but almost brought them a sense of fear, because they haven't let anyone in that close in a while, or it just sort of like happened very quickly. We also have your everything that I could ever want or need. Yeah, so this person has been reflecting a lot about who you are, about kind of like what drew them to you initially, what empowered this person to approach you, or maybe you're the one that approached them. They're thinking back on kind of the early days, the early kind of experiences with you, and there's a sense of wanting to get back to that, wanting to make like a second first impression also is kind of what's coming through here. So it feels like this is definitely somebody who, again, has kind of self-reflected. They've evolved in some kind of way. This isn't somebody that's just like, some time has passed, let me try again. This is somebody that it feels like they have kind of like, they backed into a corner, but then they were like trying to talk themselves out of that experience. They noticed that within, and it wasn't just something that gave them the ick factor, and then they've like 8 of Cups you and sort of like moved off in the other direction, and they're never gonna like look back on this and kind of like feel, good that they sort of like dodged out of that situation. This is somebody that is like, why did I do that? Why did I panic like that? Nothing was said that was like weird. Nothing was done that should have made me uncomfortable. This was an experience of, in fact, feeling very comfortable, feeling almost like we're talking as if we're catching up, as if we're old friends, but we're just meeting for the first time. Why is that something that is a red flag? Shouldn't that be a green light? Like, this person's thought about it from these different sorts of angles. And so they're very motivated to try again, to give it like one more try with you. We also have you are truly something special. Yeah, so again, this is somebody that really, they miss the potential between the two of you. They feel that there may still be a lot to work with, especially because this, again, isn't just somebody that's like let time pass and they're just avoiding that situation. It feels like this held a mirror up for them very abruptly, very quickly. They anticipated maybe that at some point in time, just because that's the nature of romance and partnership, or maybe like certain differences between the two of you, outward or obvious differences, they anticipated that there would be a period of time where they would be triggered in some kind of way, confronted in some kind of way, in terms of like building a connection, experiences with one another. But whatever happened so quickly that it definitely caught them off guard. And it feels like this person, the fact that they're the one that sort of dropped the ball or backed off, like they've wounded their own pride, they've wounded their own ego. So it's taking a lot of effort on this person's part to even kind of like come back in, sort of, be prepared that they're not going to exactly experience that same kind of warm greeting from you that had been the case at first, but there may be kind of walls that are now up around your heart as far as this person is concerned. Even if you're like, yeah, I miss them, I would totally like give them another chance, like, there's nothing to apologize for, I get it, like, we can work beyond this. This is somebody that almost anticipates or feels like they're not going to get the same version of you twice. And so it requires, again, a different strategy than just, oh, time has passed, let me just kind of come back in as if nothing happened. Hey, good to talk to you. Hey, how have you been? There's something with kind of like needing to sort of touch upon those points of vulnerability, navigate very specifically with that experience in mind, because this is somebody that feels like there's just one more opportunity with you. If they pull this kind of stunt with you again, then it's kind of like they're locked out in the cold. You'll just sort of, you won't be responsive at that point anymore. Yeah, we also have, I don't want to miss my chance with you. So this person feels, again, like they've got one shot, they got one chance to kind of like create a door of opportunity. This is somebody that knows you're not at this point going to be responsive to subtleness, hints and innuendos. You're not going to sit there and try to like read between the lines. You're not going to like take a bunch of clues that this person gives you and sort of assemble the bigger puzzle, the bigger picture of what's going on. They understand at this point you require clear and direct communication. You require something that provides you peace of mind, evidence that this person means what they say, in terms of that energy of like, I've changed, I've grown, I'm different. That's all good. That's words, but that you are somebody now, because of the situation they've created, that has kind of like just a gut reaction, just a reflex, is now snowballed into this situation here and now. This is somebody that feels like they gotta go big or like go home. Come correct or don't come at all is kind of the energy here. We also have, I am choosing you. Yeah, so this is somebody that is mustering up all their courage to approach you, to call you, to message you, to reach out to you, to come and see you, to speak to you. They, again, don't anticipate that it's going to be easy to kind of get a foot in the door with you again. They see you as a type of person that has high standards, you know your worth, your value. Whenever they did this, however that played out, it's like you didn't chase them. You're sort of like, okay, that's how you're going to move, and you operated accordingly. You pulled back. You respected that. You respected that boundary that this person, almost like they put a boundary in place before they knew that they were doing that. It's like this person flinched, and then the next minute they realize, oh shit, I've just backed myself into a corner. I ate a cup stew, only you're now the one that is kind of like walking away. You're the one that is kind of now in this position of like, time is passing. Somebody else could come in and not do something like this, and they're kind of finding themselves stuck, like in a place, between a rock and a hard place, and they don't really like it. And so this is somebody that, again, it's like taking a lot of courage to come back, to speak, to try to redeem themselves, to try and kind of like ease into communication with you, but again, not in a nonchalant way, just in something that is like they are now wise to the effect that you have upon them, especially if you're an empath. Again, this may be something that's like you're used to that. if you resonate as an empath, this is probably not the first person that has like all of a sudden had too much of a cozy moment with you and then they switch up. It's really like a great dialogue, great conversation. The next time you see that person, they're cold as ice. That may be something that along your personal journey, you've learned to like, or you've had to learn to not personalize that, but you understand that it's kind of a byproduct of the energetic effect you have on others. The nature of that personal frequency you hold inside, that it kind of invites honesty out of people and therefore illustrates how accustomed society has become to living within a lie, like to themselves and to others, that your energy demands authenticity. Performative experiences do not survive in your presence, and that may be part of like strangers open up to you and tell you their life story. You're that shoulder for people to cry on. Some people crave that experience. They come to you because even a few moments with you is like medicine. Other people recoil from that. Other people avoid you because of that sense of sort of like you bring out sides of people that they often run from within themselves even. And this is somebody that has like experienced something like that. They saw their own reflection and they ran away. They felt very comfortable, a version of themselves that wasn't just raw potential, but it's kind of like turning the page beyond how they've been sort of living up to this point into like a better version of them. There was a taste of that. Peace, relaxation, honest exchange with another human being. And it made them feel vulnerable and exposed. So they went, oh shit, and they pulled back. They hid, they ran away. They ate of cups, they backed off. And this is somebody that it feels like sees that on a certain level for what it is. And there's a desire to reach for you, to see, is it possible to kind of like navigate beyond this awkwardness that they've created? And not just somebody that's like, I promise that I'll be good, I promise I'll be different, but this is somebody that understands like to reach for you and for you to take their hand and for them to walk alongside you. This requires like a process of continuing to kind of confront themselves and move beyond those layers that are just kind of conditioned to fear their own reflection. Yeah, we also have, I just want to go back in time. So this person has been very like hard on themselves. Why did I do that? Why did I act that way? Why did I go silent? Why did I ghost? Why did I Eight of Cups? For some people, they know what that is. They know what an Eight of Cups is. That sidestep. That conversation that just kind of never is picked back up. Move off in another direction. Only it's not because you did anything. This person, like with that Eight of Cups reference, this person understands that it's like you, rightfully so, have probably assumed at some point, did I say something? Did I do something? Did I present a broken energy that was in some way repellent or repulsive to this person? Because it seemed like everything was going great. And this person, it's almost that energy of what was reflected is that like a broken aspect within themselves. That tightness within. Aspects that they keep hidden. They keep it under lock and key. They don't share that so soon. They don't adjust into that sense of comfortability around other people so soon. That's the brokenness. That they stepped into a version of themselves beyond that, even for just a second, and it freaked them out. So the only solution, run. Step away. Step back into that illusion where that part of them is just kind of tucked away. It's not acknowledged. And this is somebody that is like, they've seen that for what it is. They've looked at that. They've reflected on that. Because this is somebody that feels like that, like pretty immediately regretted. Like, oh man, time has passed. I like flinched. I overreacted. I'm the one that got weird, went silent, ghosted. Why did I do that? And this is somebody that has like been asking themselves that question, picking that apart. They understand themselves as kind of the culprit within this situation. And so this is somebody that wants to provide explanations. They're hoping that it's not too late. But this is also somebody that is kind of like, if it is, if you won't hear them out, if you won't give them another opportunity, then this is somebody that also knows they only have themselves to blame, and that they're chalking this up to perhaps a learning tool, like a lesson for them, something to work on within themselves. So let's get some initials. This could be a first, middle, or last name, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. We've got R, L, O, X, D, T, O, S, D, Z, and V. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. Like or comment to claim these energies. Subscribe to my channel if you would like to see more content that I put out here. Don't forget to hit the bell button to get notifications every time I post a new video. And if you would like to book a personal reading with me, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link for that below. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.